Cows emit a gas called methane. Methane is a greenhouse gas like carbon dioxide, but the negative effect on the climate of methane is 23 times higher than the effect of CO2. There are 1.5 billion cattle in the world, all who emit on average 70 to 120 kilograms of methane per year. The release of about 100 kilograms of methane is equivalent to about 2,300 kilograms of CO2 each year. 2,300 kilograms of CO2 times 1.5 billion, the math is staggering. Livestock are responsible for 18% of the greenhouse gases that cause global warming, more than cars, planes, and all other forms of transport put together. According to The Independent, a digital news and media source based in the UK, burning fuel to produce fertilizer to grow feed for the cows, to produce meat and to transport it, and clearing vegetation for grazing produces 9% of all emissions of carbon dioxide, the most common greenhouse gas. Cows and other livestock also produce more than 100 other polluting gases, including more than 2/3 of the world's emissions of ammonia, one of the main causes of acid rain. The ranching needed to sustain cow farms is the major driver of deforestation worldwide, while overgrazing is turning a fifth of all pastures and ranges in the desert. Living in a time in world population where droughts in cities come often and fresh water needs to be preserved more than ever, cows are soaking up vast amounts of water. It takes a staggering 990 liters of water to produce just 1 liter of milk. Waste from feedlots and fertilizers used to grow their feed overnourish water, causing weeds to choke all other life, and the pesticides, antibiotics, and hormones used to treat them get into drinking water and endanger human health. The pollution washes down to the sea, killing coral reefs and creating dead zones, devoid of life. One dead zone is up to 21,000 square kilometers in the Gulf of Mexico, where much of the waste from U.S. beef production is carried down the Mississippi.
In comparison to other livestock, the beef offered by cows affects our environment significantly more. According to a Japanese study in an article on timeforchange.org, a site dedicated to informing people on the climate change that faces our world, 1 kilogram of beef produces a CO2 equivalent of 34.6 kilograms, whereas the same amount of meat from lamb, pork, and chicken produces 17.4, 6.35, and 4.5 kilograms of CO2 equivalents respectively. To put this in perspective, a kilogram of beef is responsible for the equivalent of the amount of CO2 emitted by the average European car every 250 kilometers and burns enough energy to light a 100-watt bulb for nearly 20 days.
If this information hasn't already begun to deter you from consuming as much beef and dairy, these statistics might pop out at you a little more. According to globalissues.org, overall cow and animal farms use nearly 40% of the world's total grain production. The total cattle population on the planet, the 1.3 billion cows, occupied 24%, nearly a quarter of the land of the planet. 70 to 80% of the grain produced in the United States is fed to cows and other livestock. This means that we could feed 800 million people if humans consumed all the grain meant for livestock. Meanwhile, half of the water consumed in the United States is used to grow grain for cattle feed. So how do we help counter these horrible effects on the environment that we have learned about today? The first step that each and every one of us can take is to just simply cut down your beef and dairy intake. You don't have to completely refrain as a whole, just work to be conscious of how much beef and dairy you're consuming and try to lessen it. If we can all reduce our intake a little, we can help reduce the problem a lot.